There are certain things that you experience that can never be experienced again. For instance, you were a kid in New Orleans, and I'm guessing as on a visit with your uncle. I'm
Yeah,
guessing that had to be in the 40s, the early 40s.
right. Yeah, 1943, first
Okay,
time.
so you're 13. You're on the road with your uncle, a merchant marine fellow, the world traveler, and he brought you to New Orleans. God bless him. What a great thing that was. Do you remember what you saw? Do you remember what your impressions were?
Oh,
Because like
sure.
you said, you were out in the boondocks in the farmland of Pennsylvania. Now you're in New Orleans.
Well, I'll remember taking me to a second line. I had no idea what that was. And I saw those guys with the parasols and how they would use the parasol. I'm slowly twisting an imaginary parasol for your viewers. They would have somehow have the parasol be like play some extra accompaniment, an obligato, an extra part in the whole parade. And the way everybody would be going, and all different kinds of music. Each community would have their own little group in that second line going out to the cemetery. And then somebody would give this fantastic, rousing speech, and then they would have the joyous part. So they're celebrating, and how the people would come out in the steps that they use just to get to the coming from the funeral parlor, and the whole beauty and the royalty. It was like what I imagine what it was probably like for the people in England seeing a king or queen. There was very, very deep royal feeling, but it wasn't. It was indigenous. It was different, and and the way people played together, and kids joining in with old people, and people being welcomed into the second line if they wish they could walk beside it or walk behind it. Years later, I played with the New Orleans Symphony, and someone invited me to come up to the second line. And I thought about my uncle, so I went on the side where I was. They said, "No, man, come and play." I said, "Man, I don't want to wreck a culture I'm not born into." Say, "Come on, man, play." So I couldn't resist, and there I was, all these years later, and one group was playing. It sounded like a Albert Eiler orchestra playing
Oh,
some
wow.
far out, fantastic stuff, and then another another group was playing, old time Dixieland. Another one was playing sort of swing. One was playing old John Coltrane tunes. I mean, every single group had a different band, and they somehow all fit together
Mm.
with that drum pattern that they have, and it was just and the feeling of welcoming, and the joyous feeling. And then we walked back from the cemetery all the way back into town, and I was not the only person there who felt energized rather than exhausted. Everybody was full of energy, and we walked about 4 or 5 miles, I guess, altogether. But it was just that amazing feeling, and everybody being together. This is when things were really segregated, and there was, you felt there was cultures, but it wasn't people hating each other or feeling weird or looking around saying who is that. I've been places in the world where things aren't that way. So that, in other words, that's the natural way to be concerned about something else besides those external things. And it was just something that was so heartwarming. So when I tell them all the times I've been to New Orleans since then, they would say, "Wow, that's the least American city of all the cities." That's it. I said, "It's the most American city." We
Exactly.
got people from every place in the world, and they've all contributed something to that wonderful, wonderful place that celebrates the best of what we have.